Any road up. I was confronted the other day on the channel by somebody. I might do a more full discussion of this individual person in the future, but right now I think I'll stick to the basics and do it in a generalistic way. And this person, right, it was claiming, this person who contacted me was claiming that a particular other person was HSTS, and an activist and blah 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 blah. Almost no activists are HSTS. That's really, really unusual. HSTS, whew. See the radar? I'm under it. That's how they work. They're not about to put themselves on a, you know, hey, look at me. That's not an HSTS thing. That's one of the reasons why we know that, you know, that Dylan Mulvaney, he's not HSTS. No HSTS would behave like that. But up as a target like that, they wouldn't do it. They're just not like that. So he's not, he might be gay, but he's certainly not homosexual. Homosexual. Sorry. Anyway, to get back to this other person. Now this other person, and you know, I'm always very kind about these things, so I didn't actually know who this person was, who was being referred to. So I went and looked, and I went, obvious autogynephile. Huge fat person, absolutely nothing feminine about him at all. And the thing that really struck me about what was being said was, oh, you know, but history of sex, gender non-conformity. Wait, get that in a minute. From a very young age. Well, let's start. Gender non-conformity is one of the most stupid terms I've ever heard of. It's sex atypicality, right? A gender non-conforming person is usually performing absolutely in line with their gender, right? They're feminine, so they're behaving feminine. It's not about sex, it's about gender, remember? So that term is very misleading and it should not be used. So I use sex atypical. Now, we've known for a very long time that autogynephilia can actually start around the age of 9 in boys, and that's because that's when puberty starts. Autogynephilia starts with puberty. Right? Now there have been some cases where it's like, oh, it started before. These are incredibly hard to actually back up. And what you need to do is you need to go and speak to the family and the friends, people who knew that person when that person was very young. And, you know, certainly in every case I've done that with, they've gone, oh, no, perfectly normal boy. And then you got to be 10 or 11 or 12 and, ooh, wallop. Sometimes a little older. Here, usually it's a little older. You have to remember that HSTS, right, homosexual transsexuals, homosexualism, which is, remember, homosexualism is a personality type caused by hormonal anomalies in utero. Homosexuality, generally speaking, starts to evidence itself in behavioural terms by the age of 3 or 4. You know, that's like around about 40 months. Yet when these people talk about, oh, in early childhood, what they actually mean is 10 years old. No, absolutely not. That person, if they start evidencing sex atypical behaviour at 10 and not beforehand, almost certainly HAP. You know, and this is, oh yeah, he was in a, and you look at this, it's a 12-year-old. And you go, I mean, come on! You're just bending the rules to suit yourself. When we're talking about homosexual, we're talking about kids who are very young, you know. I mean, they might actually, at the point of speaking, they're starting to evidence this. You know? It's right hardwired right into them. It's not something that comes along later. And so I kind of felt, well, you know, I'll maybe do a thing on this person, but I don't like singling out people who haven't been nasty to me. And it's like, well, you know, I went and looked and I couldn't find any pictures, and all the descriptions that I found, it was like, oh, early childhood, oh, 9 years old. That's autogynephilia. That person's not a gynephile. Not a homosexual transsexual. And yeah, I completely agree. If you're going to say, look, but if they start the hormones early, yeah, I totally agree with you. If they start the hormones early enough, they can be extremely feminine. I mean, there's girls around here who started, autogynephiles, who started hormones 14 years old, and boy, they are seriously good looking. I mean, really, really good looking. But you know, you can go and, you'll go and find, you know, actual HSTS, who have a very similar history of taking hormones. You know, they couldn't do it before they were about 12 to 14 because they couldn't get money to do it. And then you see them growing up and you go, hey, there's no comparison, is there? Just look at Kevin Ballard next to any one of ye other autogynephilic badgered queens, and you go, well, you know, Kevin is small and pretty and she's just lovely, you know, she's a real attractive girl. She's not a man by any fucking measure whatsoever. So, you know, and like I say, when I saw the pictures of this person, I just went straight away, AGP. And of course the person that I was talking to, oh, because they're AGP too, you see. So they're always determined that I should accept their point of view, because, you know, what that's going to do if I say, well, no, I didn't agree with you really, can't see that, that's an attack, a personal attack on them. Therefore, instant narcissistic rage, and they go, oh, blah, 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 Rod Fleming, blah, blah, blah. He's doing that, he's putting them on a pedestal, he's objectifying. Of course, I'm bloody objectify. Everybody objectifies. How else do you study? You have to objectify, you idiots. And that's what happens. You get, you know, it's always the same. It's always a bunch of autogynephiles, and they've got this sword bearer that they want to persuade everyone this is really an HSTS, because what they want to do is to claim HSTS identity themselves. So if they can get away with claiming that this absolute bruiser, who's obviously not HSTS, is HSTS, then they can go, well, yeah, what about me? I'm not so much worse looking than that one. How can you shut me out? Well, it's actually dead bloody easy. It's not difficult at all. And the other thing that they'll always say is they'll say something like, oh, but lived as a gay man. Gay is a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle, an umbrella lifestyle that encompasses many different types. It does encompass actual homosexuals, although probably fewer than you think, but it also encompasses autogynephiles who are either known trans or will trans in the future, narcissists, many of those, pederasts, you name it. The fact that somebody lived in that lifestyle doesn't prove anything at all, except that they lived in that lifestyle. It doesn't mean they're homosexual. Now, okay, there's a range. There's always a range, and there's always variation. But you're going to fall into a very specific model. And if you don't fall into that model, then we are justified in saying, no, I don't really think that you classify as homosexual. And if you don't classify as a homosexual, you cannot be a homosexual transsexual. And that's really the point that was being made. Autogynephiles are always trying to colonize homosexual transsexual identity. It's like they want it. Oh, that's me. That's the gold standard, so I must have it. Because they're total fucking narcissists, these people. I must have that. That's what they do. So no, I don't need to buy that shit. It's garbage. Autogynephiles are just, you know, they're okay here sometimes because they get loads and loads and loads of validation. And so they, you know, you pump them full of validation. It's like a drug for them, and it's like, hey, I'm okay. I'm okay. I've got my shots. I've got my head. In the West, they get no validation at all, so they go nuts. And they shout and yell about misgendering. Well, who the hell is not going to misgender somebody who's an obvious man in a dress? It's like, sir, obviously. And they'll go, oh. Why? You are a man in a dress. Shock horror. Out with the knives. Kill him. Rod Fleming, get him. You're not impressing anybody, guys. You really aren't. Enough of that. Goodbye. Sorry about the gunfire, by the way.